the zombies charge in, Encrid, knowing that these things have a strong poison on their fingertips, even a scratch would lead to a deadly injury. So normally zombies are taken in groups, but for someone like him, who can move and weave with no concern in his heart, this is too easy. He continues slaughtering the zombies with none of them even getting close to hitting him, and after he's done, he thinks that he fought pretty well. So well, in fact, he wishes the others could see it. Suddenly, a bunch of ghoulish beasts appear, something that Encrid does not recognize, as it's a mix of more than one animal. He wonders what is in front of him as a result, and continues his journey. Somewhere close, Esther seems to be on the move, as Encrid seems weird today. Why would he go to a shoemaker while being so heavily armed? Will the boots attack him or something? If he ends up dying, that would be bad for her. He's far too reckless. As she gets to the shoemaker's house, she detects some bad energy, and the unmistakable smell of spells. Encrid finishes off the last beast, but can sense breathing deeper into the cave. It's faint, like it's about to be the last at any point. He wonders if there's another demon nearby or something, but once he gets to the end, he sees a gruesome sight. This cave is filled with body parts of humans and beasts alike, strung on hooks to rot. The person he was hearing demands peace. She wants the sweet embrace of death to take her from this hell. Encrid recognizes that ring. It's the same as the shoemaker's, meaning that this woman is his wife. Suddenly a strange man appears. He has heard some noise. It looks like he has some fresh meat to play with. Perhaps he shall make a playmate for Bamilio, as he's been quite lonely. Encrid asks if these corpses are his doing, which the man does not deny, but those are all trash and failures. This is his best work, Bamilio, a work of art, and soon he will make something beautiful out of him as well. Encrid knows the best way to counter a mage. He has to run, as that might grant him death. If he survives, he will meet a fate worse than death, but he is not scared. Even if he has to try 1,000 times, he will end his miserable life. He throws a flying knife towards him, which bounces off his magic shield, but allows Encrid to move in with a silent strike. The magician, however, easily pushes him away, and in the corner, Esther watches. She knew there was a magician afoot. She has not managed to gain too much power, but if she gathers all that she has now, a small fry like that bastard is nothing. The mage shoots a deadly gust of wind towards him with one simple movement, making a hole in his cloak as he dodges. Even if Encrid can't see or hear it, he can feel his murderous intent. The mage is surprised he dodged, but Encrid goes further than that, and moves in while recognizing all of his movements. A long time ago, he asked his squad mates about what he should do if he had to face a mage in combat. Rem told him to shoot an arrow, but that would honestly be pretty useless considering their speed. Jackson advises that he kill him silently while he is not attentive. Auden just told him to get up closer and personal, but even that fails because of the shield. Ragna told him not to be so scared. Everything that has ever breathed can be killed. Encrid descends upon the mage with full force. This invisible shield makes his whistle daggers next to useless, so he will just smash it open like an egg. The mage wants him to come. He has prepared a strike for when he is most vulnerable, which is now. Esther watches closely as the attack gets closer, but soon relaxes, as she knows Encrid won. The shield suddenly comes apart, leaving the mage defenseless, so Encrid swings his blade with so much force that he almost cuts him in half. For this wall, he did not have to die even once. The mage falls down, and so does Encrid's blade. It took a beating with this, but it served him well. The impact was so strong that he could feel it in his bones, but he wasn't hurt. Perhaps this armor really is that great, and can do much more than block simple cuts. He looks at the shoemaker's wife, and no longer senses her breathing. It has stopped. He has trained his sixth sense so much he could take down a magician, but this is no victory. What he was set out to do, he failed in. As he shamefully walks away, Esther comes in, calling the magician a fool, who lost only because he did not use his creation. This is a flesh golem, created to supplement the physical abilities of a magician, one that will wake up with only a few knocks. She will make good use of it, since he did not. Encrid swiftly reports everything to the ferry commander, who is shocked, and knows that if news about a civilian being experimented on right in the middle of the city spreads, they will not be able to contain the chaos. Encrid thinks that keeping things hidden is best too, but the ferry commander warns him that his contribution would not be recognized as a result. Encrid doesn't care for that. The lives of the citizens are far more important. They soon got to work repairing the tunnels, the people given some bogus story about the Thieves' Guild, one that the shoemaker himself also believes. He comes to Encrid with a gift for all that he has done. His shoes seemed worn out, so he made him some new ones. He's glad he got this off his chest. He hopes that his wife will make her way back safely to him one day. He already knows he has done much work, but if he could at least try one more time to find her, he would be eternally grateful. Encrid keeps silent for a moment, and then says he will do his best. After this interaction, he goes somewhere quiet to collect his thoughts. Was it really right for him to give that man hope? Would it have been better to just tell him the truth? That would have made him despair? If he ever becomes a knight, would he be able to prevent these things? Encrid cannot know the answer to these questions, so he leaves them in the dirt with his old sword. After all of this, Encrid and his team took on a monster hunting quest, thinking that it would be at least exciting, but really, the monsters are way too slow to be a threat, making them pretty bored. Encrid can't deny that this is for normal people. Should he have gone on a solo mission perhaps? Rem notices that he's bored too, but he would like to fix that. He drops his shield and charges in with his blades, surprising the commander of the mission. He tries to tell Encrid to keep that guy on a leash, but Encrid charges in too, despite the commander's screams. As he takes down a beast, Rem tells the commander not to get it wrong. They were the ones who rubbed off his craziness. Encrid can't believe he's the one saying that, but it doesn't matter anyway. Together, they unleash hell on the beasts, leaving the common soldiers to only stare at them. After they are done, Encrid still does not seem satiated, so the commander tells him to go to the armored units if he desires more action, as they are fighting much stronger monsters. Sure enough, besides having to deal with disgusting-looking beasts, deadly harpies are also a concern, who pick up the soldiers with ease, and then throw them from up high, dealing some pretty heavy blows. Encrid and Rem charge in, with Encrid having a history with harpies. In his brief job as a mercenary, his squad was butchered by harpies. He remembers it vividly, because he had really good people around him. He draws his blade sharply, as no more people will die today because of these chickens. One of the harpies sees them charging in, and lets out a high-pitched scream, making the other soldiers flinch with pain. But Encrid is not affected by this disorienting sound. He has faced death countless times after all. He successfully hits the harpy's wing, and cuts it off completely with one last charge. Rem holds another harpy and tells him that he's doing great. Why don't they bet on who can get the most kills? Another harpy approaches from behind, and Encrid says that he's not here to play. He swiftly gets out of the way and cuts down the harpy, making the soldiers think that he's actually pretty cool. Rem doesn't let up either, and together, the harpies are soon dealt with. Torres and his group are there too. They were supposed to help the heavy company, but at this point, they aren't needed. The harpies see Encrid as a threat now, so they swiftly disarm him and rush to incapacitate him, but Encrid takes care of one with a whistling dagger. He's not out of the fight just yet. The other knows that its time is limited. It rushes in, and as Encrid does the same to get his blade, with only a few seconds to spare, he swiftly grabs the handle and cuts up, killing the harpy. The others refuse to fight any longer and leave, much to the soldiers' surprise, to think that they would make actual monsters run away like this. Encrid looks upon what he did. These harpies are probably not the same ones that killed his mercenary group, but maybe one or two were. After his squad was annihilated, someone came and called him weak. All of these bastards died to save him. Now though, he's the one saving others. Torres guesses that they should go back now that they are finished, but one of the squad members suggests they go hunt a beast or something, to not go empty-handed. The armored company leader tells them that they got support for the harpies, so they can go now. But Encrid feels that it's far too soon to return. They should kill at least a couple more beasts. Torres and his company think of him as a lunatic. After helping the armored company, he still trains. Some soldiers are surprised that he's trying so hard, one of them asking the other when he will try so hard, because he's pretty lazy. The next day, Encrid takes another request, promising to finish it by the evening, and getting another, making the boardmaster wonder if he has clones or something. Even after taking care of so many requests, he still trains, something which the soldiers keep in mind, and one of them feels inspired to try too. A day passes, and someone joins him. Another day passes, and the training ground is filled with soldiers. The ferry commander notices how different these guys seem nowadays, and her assistant says that they are all following Encrid. It's basically become a trend. She cannot ignore him anymore with this, so she drags him somewhere empty, as she got some order from above for him. Starting today, his squad, Squad 444, will be promoted to an independent platoon, operating under the 4th Company. This makes him an independent platoon leader. Encrid doesn't understand. They only have 5 men in the squad. They cannot be a platoon. But the ferry commander explains she will assign more men according to his requests. Encrid thinks that being platoon leader sounds nice, but it will be a pain with all the lunatics in his squad. The ferry commander also adds that platoon leaders are exempt from menial tasks, meaning that he will have more time for training. Encrid immediately bows down and thanks her for the opportunity, but she's not done with him yet. She wants to have a duel, and her only weapons will be her hands. Encrid finds this as an opportunity. After his crushing defeat against her, he trained constantly with Auden. It's time for him to see just how far he has progressed in hand-to-hand combat. Encrid remembers Auden's teachings. Hand-to-hand combat requires him to get close, so something quick is much better than something sophisticated. The fairy commander charges in, but Encrid uses his size to block and push her back. He pushes her so much, in fact, he pins her to the ground, meaning that he has basically won. The fairy commander wonders if that is so. Human proposals really are aggressive. Encrid can't believe she's doing this stuff once again, but this leaves him distracted enough for the fairy commander to turn the tables and get on top of him. He analyzed his opponent's weakness and broke them down with his advantage. He really did well for her fiancé. Encrid denies ever getting engaged and tells her to get off of him now. She apologizes as they dust off. She just couldn't help it. Encrid wonders what she's talking about but doesn't care enough to ask. As the cold dies down, the battlefield readies to wake up, and an all-out war will soon begin. The Aspens have begun to mobilize, desperate to rectify the dishonor they incurred from that defeat. With this advent, the army of Norelia began preparations too. A new battalion commander shows up, Marcus, who Chryse recognizes as the warmonger. He being here means serious business. He is one of the key officers in the Cyprus division, and unlike his predecessor, he's a great tactician, while being experienced with real battle. He knows that the Aspens are not weak enemies, and their armies are filled with weaklings that only puff off their numbers, besides the heavy armored corps and the border guards. Among these people, there's only one that caught his eye, the platoon commander, the one everyone calls the Spellbreaker. He's been pretty heroic since the last battle. He cannot know if it was skill or blind luck, but he will soon give him the chance to prove himself and how useful he is. Because of this, he and his squad get sent to scout along the Penhanil River, something which Rem finds extremely boring. Encrid doesn't care because he's training, they've got a lot of free time after all. Chryse recognizes this area, and their newest team member confirms it's near the Crossguard, Aspen's fortress city. This is Henry, and he finishes by saying that it was created for military purposes, similar to how they got border guards. Chryse knows that they are probably going to gather a bunch of intel on them, but Rem doesn't want to go, and tells Encrid as such. He is kind of forced in this situation. He cannot refuse an order from the commander after all. Rem guesses that he's going too, if that's the case. But suddenly, someone else comes, announcing that the battalion commander has ordered them to obey his commands, as the new squad leader. Andrew is confident that they will follow his orders, but suddenly Rem approaches, showing off his barbarity, and asking why a little insect is in their corner. Andrew says that he's the new squad leader while shaking, making Auden mock him for it, but Ragna can't believe that such a brat is their squad leader. Andrew won't let up. If they have a problem, they should fight it out. He volunteered so that he could fight by Encrid's side. He's never going to leave. Rem likes how feisty he is. Auden simply wants to loosen up his joints a bit, and Jackson guesses that a finger is enough. Encrid tells them to go easy on him, but his bodyguard begs him to stop this. He asks why. It seems like they are all getting along pretty well, at least in his book. If Rem offers a duel to someone the first time they meet, it means that he likes that person, but the bodyguard thinks that he would likely murder that person too. Andrew continues to try and fight while his legs are quivering. All the while the bodyguard demands he stop provoking them so much. Henri asks Encrid if he knows much about the geography of the river they are going to. It's quite a dangerous area, so he will tell him what he knows once they set out. That night, Encrid sets out, brandishing his new armor. He meets up with Torres, who guesses that he's going out on duty. He has seen him around often. He also heard about his promotion, so congratulations are in order. They are the same rank now. Encrid can't compare himself to the king's finest, but Torres feels that nobody cares about such a thing. He asks how old he is, and Encrid says 30, confusing Torres. He is older than him and has that handsome face. Encrid heard that he should relax, so he will. What's the mission about anyway? Torres explains that they will cross the Penhanil first. He was going to explain it in more detail once the others arrived, but even the bosun is not here. Can't be helped. They should just relax for a little longer. Encrid agrees and starts swinging his sword. Apparently this is what passes for rest to him. Torres can't believe how persistent he is. He trains hard and people acknowledge him. He's also pretty handsome for his age. This bastard. Doesn't he have too much? Encrid notices killing intent coming from him, but it's actually just seething jealousy. Torres relaxes, remembering that their record at the inn was 14-6. He's at least better at fighting. Encrid smiles, as that was in the past, but Torres reminds him that he's not the only one who got stronger. Encrid is glad to hear that, and readies his blade for another fierce number of battles. Torres is the first one to strike, but Encrid retaliates, forcing them into exchanging a flurry of slashes. Torres already knew by watching him fight the harpies, but this bastard has gotten unimaginably strong. He can't go down like this, so he puts both of their blades to the ground and goes for a punch, something Encrid doesn't get, but soon sees the reason behind and barely gets out of the way. The hidden knife slashes Encrid's cheek, but he is more impressed by it rather than scared. This is Torres's hidden technique, hidden knife. and he doesn't have to cut his ring finger for it either. Encrid finds it ridiculous, making Torres think that he's going to call him a coward, but Encrid actually finds it pretty cool and wants to learn how to use it. Torres can't believe him, but agrees to teach him a few tricks. The boatswain actually arrives, but they don't even notice him as they train, making the old man wonder if they are even crossing the river at this point. Eventually they do so, but even on the boat, Encrid continues to learn. They arrive at their destination as day appears, Encrid knowing that they are supposed to meet with a recon team, but he does not know where the rendezvous point is. Torres suggests they wash up for a bit. They are already drenched in sweat as is from their training. Encrid can't deny that after smelling himself, so they both get into the water. Torres turns around just as Encrid is taking off his pants and sees his real fighting sword. He's now even more jealous. His fighting spirit is completely gone. Encrid doesn't get it and asks him to charge if he's ready, but Torres wasn't telling him to spar. Suddenly a woman speaks. She has been looking for them all this time, and yet here they are, taking a bath without a worry. Encrid is surprised by her presence, as he did not detect her or the others. She explains that they must get near the crossguard before the day closes, so they should hurry up and get out. Torres asks how he's supposed to do that with her watching, but she doesn't care what she sees, so they should just come out. Encrid does so first, allowing her to see his fighting sword, something worth looking at. Torres notes that her eyes are obvious, but she promises she was looking at his abs. She introduces herself to Encrid as Finn. She looks forward to working with him. Encrid takes her hand, while Torres wonders if his abs aren't worthy enough. As they walk, Finn explains that before they talk about the mission, she should brief them on the actual situation. Their spy inside the crossguard, codenamed Cat, obtained some critical intel, which they were supposed to receive 4 days ago, but the Cat never showed up to their meeting point, and they haven't been able to contact them since. Encrid asks if they are in danger, which is what Finn thinks, so they will infiltrate Crossguard to rescue them. The very front of that place is the land of monsters and beasts. The enemy uses it as a natural barrier, so they do not patrol in that area much at all. They have infiltration routes too. First, they will use the dog hole, a path usually used by smugglers, which the guards know about, but they choose to ignore it. After that, they will climb over the city wall as soon as night falls, which is physically demanding, but it's also safest. The last option would be to disguise themselves as a merchant group and go in, but this means they will go through the main gate, which is risky, although it's much more convenient than climbing. Her platoon members are to stay at the meeting point in case Cat actually shows up, so only the 3 of them will go into Crossguard. The difficulty is about the same no matter what they choose, so he can choose. Encrid thinks she made it sound easy, but they all know it won't be so simple. Torres thinks she should choose since she knows the situation best, so Finn chooses the dog hole. They will be departing in the morning. After night falls, Encrid continues to train, but the most he can do is throw a rock a few inches from him. Torres wonders how he even learned swordsmanship with those skills, but he will get it eventually. He just needs patience. Finn arrives at their sleeping spot. She wonders why they skipped dinner, but what is he doing playing with his hands? Encrid says it's training, so Finn tells him to fuel up for it. One of her members actually dreams of becoming a chef, and the jerky he made is amazing. Both Encrid and Torres agree that it's incredible, and Finn suggests they ask him for more. His parents run a shop at the border guard too. They should visit it to eat. She also tells them to not go and sleep over on that spot, especially under that yellow rock. Encrid knows that there's a viper there already. He learned this from one of his squad members who was a hunter. Finn is surprised about how well prepared he is. She likes that in a man. Does he want to train with her, but in the way adults do? Encrid becomes confused, but Torres clears it up for him. She's trying to hit on him. Finn thinks that even though she's rough, she's actually pretty nice in the places that count. Torres asks if they mind not doing this in front of his jerky, but Encrid actually refuses. Finn wonders why at first, but then remembers he's actually dating the ferry commander. What a shame. Encrid doesn't understand. When did that joke even become a confirmed fact? Finn leaves while telling him they should speak casually from now on, and orders them to rest, as tomorrow is a long day. As Encrid rests under the red moon, his mind becomes blurred, and the ferryman appears. This makes Encrid get up. He has not seen that bastard for a long time, meaning that he must have something to tell him. He also remembers the ferry commander apologizing for something, but this actually makes him smile. He knows that this mission is another massive wall that he must clear. Thank you for watching. See you next time.